Hey everyone, I know it's been a while since I've recorded a video, so decided I'd do something kind of special for you guys. I've had this mint-in-box transistor radio for a couple years now, and I figured, what's the point of having, just a cardboard box like this sitting on your shelf? So I decided I'm going to open this radio up for the very first time on video for you guys. It's been long enough that I don't remember exactly what this one's even supposed to look like, but I do remember that it's a transistor clock radio. So without further ado, let's get to the unboxing. Probably should have used a sharper box cutter, but whatever. See what we've got. It's a Naco clock radio with a General Time transistor clock. General Time's an American company, if I'm remembering correctly. This radio is probably from the late 1960s, if not early 1970s. See, it's got some nice wood grain. It was made in Japan. I do like how it's already missing one of the rubber feet. Maybe it's in the packaging somewhere. Here's the instruction manual. It says your cabinet divides into 2 units. Same may be opened by pressing down the top part of the clock, then slowly moving the clock part away from the set towards you and pulling it carefully down. The clock portion of the cabinet is now released and open. So let's do that. There we go. Now we can see the pristine interior. And I was right, that clock mechanism is made in USA. Interesting that they'd use an American clock mechanism, but they certainly advertised that fact. The radio itself looks like a typical, probably 6 transistor radio. Yeah, I'm counting 6 transistors. This page explains the controls. You have to open the clock radio to set the time, apparently. And this button's a light, not a snooze. This radio came with an earphone. It has unfortunately melted itself pretty severely. Not that I was planning on using it anyway. I remember the seller mentioning that batteries were packed inside. I'm glad to see that they have not really leaked too badly. This actually looks mint condition. There's not even any corrosion on the bottom like there usually is. You can see the seal is made out of, like, I guess waxed cardboard or something. The 9-volt battery is bulging, but it's also intact and nicely wrapped. I still don't see that missing foot. Maybe it's in here somewhere though. It is kind of funny that it came missing apart from the factory. I guess quality control at that point wasn't what it used to be. I'm going to go grab a C battery for the clock and a 9-volt for the radio. Or maybe I'll actually grab my power supply, because sometimes these radios that haven't been used in a long time, the capacitors need a moment to reform. Oops, I think I might have done that. Slash the warranty a little bit. Alright, let's try out the radio portion first. There's the volume control. There's no on-off switch on the dial actually. So it's switched on and off by this. So I've got it set to off right now. Let's hook it up. Let's switch it on. Oh, I should have held that up for you. But you can see the current draw is going down, and it briefly did spike up to the limit that I have it set to 25 milliamps. Hear a little crackling. Not bad. Seems to be waking up from its long slumber.
They're going to be showing off this technology at CES this year. It can improve reaction times by 0.2 to 0.5 seconds, which it seems small, but it could actually make a big difference on the road where split-second decision-making could be the difference between accidents. I'm sorry to think about this. I'm just glad that this technology...
In sets like this that don't use an output transformer, you'll sometimes be glad you used a current limited supply to power them up, because sometimes those capacitors don't reform and you can fry the output transistors if you leave it drawing excessive current for too long. I've got a new C battery here, so now let's see if the clock mechanism still works. There we go. Just needed a shake to get the balance wheel there going again. It looks like a pretty nice clock mechanism. Definitely better than most of the ones you see in these transistor clock radios. It is kind of noisy though, but that may just be because it's kind of old and perhaps a little gummed up. Try setting the time. Very stiff to move, but it does move. And the clock restarts after you let go. It's got kind of an interesting mechanism. Kind of like some of the Bulova ones I've seen, where there's like a coil there that's fixed, and it's attracting, I guess, a metal piece on the balance wheel itself back and forth. Some of the early clocks you see in transistor clock radios are basically just a mechanical spring wind clock that's wound up by a motor. I'd say this is much more interesting. Alright, I've got it set to auto. Let's try out the alarm feature. I'm just going to advance the time until we hit the alarm time. Ooh, it's hard to turn. There we go. Does work. Hurt my fingers a little bit though, turning that knob. Probably use some oiling. Up here is the little light. You can see it lighting up there. It's not so bright, but at night I'm sure that's adequate. Well, thanks for watching. And hopefully it won't be as long until my next video, but that remains to be seen.